Hey, now we're in chapter 12, and chapter 12 looks at basically voting and campaigns and elections and just how do we make all this stuff work? How do we get to the process of actually deciding on who we're going to elect and how the campaign process is, or how it works rather, and then we'll also look at how we go about deciding to vote, and particularly looking at it regarding presidential and congressional races. How does it work for us to elect the president? What is the electoral college, and what does the electoral college vote really means? And more importantly, do we really need an electoral college anymore today, or should we really be considering the idea of maybe going back to the popular vote, where you have one person, one vote? In this last election between Hillary and Trump, there were 3 million more people who voted for Hillary, and yet she lost the election. Well, how does that happen, and what does that really mean, and should we be concerned about that? Or are we smart enough and sharp enough to be able to decide for ourselves and vote independently, or individually, I should say, on who's going to represent us? Many people feel strongly about that. But here's the other side of that. That means you have to be aware and conscious about the people who represent you and who they are and what they do and how they do what they do and whether or not they're doing a good job. So you have to be able to do your homework, which is our responsibility as citizens, to make sure we know who's representing us and make sure they're doing what they're supposed to do. Not just listening to what they say, but watching what they do. And that's our job. Also in this, we'll be looking at, again, the notion of how the presidential campaign works through the various cycles. There are multiple cycles from the pre-nomination phase all the way up to Election Day, which starts sometime nowadays about 2 years ahead of time. And we'll take a look at how that works. We'll also look at a time, controversially, when people didn't have the right to vote and what groups didn't have the right to vote and how they had to fight for the right to vote, including not only just people of color, but also women, and how we were so far behind even some more repressive regimes like the Soviet Union with regard to women's rights. And we still struggle today with the rights of women in our society. So let's take a look at this.